Hey, this is Connor, and welcome back to the Courageous Nerd channel for another interview. Joining me today is actor Erik Fellows to chat all about his new film Break Even, providing his voice and motion capture in NBA 2K20, as well as talking about some of his other projects. If you enjoyed this interview with Erik or any of the others on the channel, please be sure to like and subscribe. So, welcome and thank you for taking the time to do this.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Appreciate
Great.
it.
And just from doing some reading up about you, you've done a variety of projects, and I suppose especially in the entertainment industry, which is what you work in, how much do you value being a multifaceted performer or artist?
Well, I value it a lot, tremendously.
Mm,
I've always wanted to be able to play, play different characters as an actor, but I've always, I started out in modeling, and
yeah,
that led into commercials, and in between that, somewhere ended up doing a handful of music videos, um, led into daytime soap operas that turned into you know streaming soap opera, and then another. I'm very grateful that I've been given an opportunity to actually be challenged to play different types of characters, from villains to actually I played, for the longest time I was playing more or less sort of like the edgy bad boy
right.
sort of roles. As presently I'm playing, I have a series called Purgatory that's on Popstar TV, where I
Yeah.
play probably the edgiest character that I've ever played. The character is Bobby, and he's an ex-con murderer who does has done some bad deeds. So that particular character, I got, it was a stretch, not for me as an actor necessarily, because I really was intrigued to play it, but like seeing me in that role for how I've been cast in previously, it's like, oh, can he be, all grittied up with a beard and dirty, and do these awful sort of acts and be believable from coming from a modeling world, doing commercials, playing like on soap operas. Can he be that guy? And
Yeah.
we made sure we, give me a neck tattoo and made me super edgy, and I live for that kind of stuff. So
Mm,
I'm really grateful that I was given opportunities like that recently. Even go as far as playing in the comedies that I've played in. Um, Lots of dark comedies that I've done. I have a really interesting dark comedy coming out in the new year called Starfucker, which is about Hollywood
yeah.
and about this journey of this character Jimmy Star, who's on this kind of dark spiral downhill of the game of Hollywood, and it
Mm,
shows a lot of the real underbelly of what Hollywood, in that sort of like dark mystique of Hollywood is, where they venture away from a lot of times to not really put it out there for people to see what Hollywood
yeah.
really is at times. That dark sort of understanding is scary to show for Hollywood, but we did it. But we did it in a dark comedy fashion, to teach lessons, to have some points come across that I think, if questions that people have, seeing an actor portray that quintessential type of character was very interesting to me, because I've been in LA for 19 years now, and when I'm watching, I produced it as well. When I'm watching, I'm like, God, there's lots of elements of this guy Jimmy Star that are part of my life that I've
Mm,
lived. So that was very, very surreal to portray an actor being an actor going through that sort of path. Not
mm,
all of it, because there's some crazy stuff in it,
yeah.
but a lot of that really is it's like nostalgic, looking at it going, God, man, I've done that, or I'm doing that. So yeah, I mean, I've been given the opportunity in the recent years to playing these extreme characters. And that was always kind of my goal. Once I found the passion for acting, it was my goal. I look up
Yeah.
to people like Brad Pitt, and Leonardo DiCaprio, and Tom Cruise. And I mean, I love lots of actors. I mean, Ryan Gosling, Ryan Reynolds. There's so many people I take bits and pieces of.
Mm,
Um, Kind of just watch what worked for them, and then enabled myself to bring that out of me. I've never been an actor to mimic anyone.
yeah.
I just give them the Erik Fellows version of things, because I think at the end of the day, an audience wants to see you.
Yeah.
They want to feel you, and they want to fall in love with you, regardless of what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it. But I've been very grateful to be given opportunities to play such severe ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. And I suppose kind of touching on something you were just saying, going back to before you were acting professionally, was acting always something that was on your radar? And do you think you would have found yourself in this profession had events played out differently?
I don't know. I don't. It was never. No, it was never on my radar. It was never something of my interest. I love the movies. I love TV. I knew a lot about something I actually haven't mentioned in a lot of interviews, but I knew a lot about Hollywood and about celebrity world and of old Hollywood, and I just knew a lot of I knew the terminology and all this stuff about movies and TV and
Yeah.
dates of things. I could always remember where people are from and actors, the people I looked up to, but I never thought I would be in that world. I grew up in Maryland, close to DC. I played basketball growing up. I played high school ball. I was going to play professionally in Italy. I was a point guard. I obviously didn't get super tall. I'm only 5'10", but I got injured my senior year and I tore my ankle. So that kind of diverted my my path a little bit as a basketball player. I still could have went and played, and I do regret it. They say you're not supposed to regret, but I look back going, I wish I would have done it for a few years. That would have been cool. And it would have been a life experience. And it was my life goal as a child and growing up into my late teens. And I always look back going, man, because I was really, really I invested a lot of my life into basketball. And there wasn't anything else I really cared about. And I kind of fell into the business. I was introduced to an agent in DC through an ex-girlfriend's friend whose child was a little model commercial kid. And
Yeah.
she asked me if I had ever thought about modeling. And I said, no. And she was like, well, I think you have a great look for it. And I think you should give it a shot. You might have you might have some good luck with it. It could be your calling. Never once did I think that was actually going to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of life just went that way. Made a move to New York in 2000. September 11th happened. I visited LA the July before. I had got a modeling agency when I was in New York. Kind of to the short end of all of it, So basically, I got with a smaller agency originally, and then I strived for a bigger modeling agency, and I kept getting you're too short or you're too commercial looking in New York, because it's high fashion city.
Yeah.
And a fashion stylist that was at a casting shaved my head. I went back into all the agencies that he knew, all the head agencies that turned me down. Every single one of them acted like they never met me before, and they all wanted to sign me. It was crazy, all because I looked edgier and I had a shaved head. I ended up signing with a big agency. During that time, they were like, listen, you have a really good look for acting. You should maybe start, looking into it, take some classes, blah, blah, blah. I ended up signing with a theatrical agency in New York. And that's kind of how it started, man. And it kind of took a while to get my passion for it because it wasn't something that I ever strived to do. I just started to feel like I had a niche for with my personality, maybe see where this goes. And then now you're looking at 20 years later.
Right.
It's wild.
Yeah, and I suppose kind of jumping ahead into those 20 years, you have a film, Break Even, which
yes.
What I read, it was released on December the 1st. So I suppose, what can you tell us about that project and the character you played?
Well, Break Even, we're super excited about it right now. We're doing a lot of pushing on it right now. So it just hit North America and Canada on December 1st. People are seeming to really enjoy it. It's a fun, fast-paced, sort of smaller action film, that's, just it moves. It's about four friends that end up, going on a sailing excursion for the day, end up taking a dive. Me and co-star Brent Bailey, who plays Sebastian, I play Dash. The other lead girl is Tassia Teles from the 100 on the CW. She plays Jack. And then my girlfriend in the movie is Rosie. She's Elisa Reyes. She's from Nickelodeon, all that, and tons of shows. Actually, they just give it a reboot, so I'm very happy for her. So she's been around a long time. So us four leads in the film are on this sort of fast action packed sort of Into the Blue meets like a small version of Fast and Furious with a little like
Mm.
twist of like Fool's Gold and it's gone in 60 seconds. If you were to merge all those things, we take a dive, we end up finding $50 million of dirty money in the ocean. And then we try to figure out how we're going to get it clean. So, short end of it, without giving too much away, we end up getting, well, they catch on to what's going on. The money's missing. The drug lord and the corrupt DEA is now on our tail. So we're heisting. We're on the water. We're jumping from, we're stealing yachts. We're stealing speedboats. We're just boom, 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 trying to. So that's when the pace of the film is just like this boom to next boom, boom, boom. Great music. Yeah, if you want sexy girls, handsome guys, well all around performed. Got a great ensemble cast. We have Steve Guttenberg from back in the day from Police Academy, and Cocoon, and all those films back in the day. And then you got Ivan Sergey, Joanna Bakula. She plays the lead corrupt DEA agent. Got James Callis is in it. You've got, I mean, it's a really cool ensemble cast. And it's just a really like young and like hip cast, man. So if you want sexy, cool, fun action, something in that genre, it's for you.
Yeah, and I suppose again, just kind of adding on to what you were just saying, how would you describe the process of landing the role of Dash, and did you read opposite anyone else that ended up getting cast?
Well, that's a funny story. So it was right after Christmas, 2000, just turned 2019. So it was,
Right.
I think it was like right when I got back from Christmas vacation from the East Coast. My agent had sent me an audition to put on tape, but initially it was to read for like a smaller role,
Right.
a supporting role, because what happened was that Shane Stanley, who's the director, awesome director, a very close friend of mine, he's the producer of Gridiron Gang with The Rock and many, many, many projects. And CJ Wally is the writer. This is his first feature. So they, obviously they're in the midst of casting. So I don't know who they already had on board. I think they had already cast Tassia, from what I understand at this point, because we had a virtual event launch party last week, and he came on as a surprise guest and was telling the fans how we all got cast. So I'm remembering how he said it. So basically, I auditioned for a smaller role opposite to the character of Dash in the script.
Right, okay.
So basically, I was reading the script going, I feel like I'm really right for Dash. So I called my agent because he didn't go through my theatrical agent. He went through my commercial agent, that he was looking for day player roles.
Right.
So my commercial agent said, hey, I have an actor who, leads films and is on shows. You should have him read for one of the lead roles. So he didn't put two and two together at that particular time, like who I was.
It was you that he was, yeah.
So he said, well, just have him send in for this tape and whatever. So I took it upon myself without knowing any of that stuff. And I said, listen, I'm going to put Dash on tape too. So I put Dash on tape. And it was funny because I didn't know anything about the movie. I just saw the sides.
Right, okay.
I didn't know, I didn't even know what the movie was about, to be honest with you. It was all so fast. And I remember I had like a full beard on my face, and I had these big fake diamond earrings in my ear, messing around. I'm not even kidding. We shot it in awful light. My fiance's dad we shot in his room because I had to get it out to him like an hour. The lighting made my my pupils red. Right. So it looked like a vampire. It was the weirdest thing. It was all around. It was like I cared, but I didn't care.
Sure.
About the situation. And next thing I know, we sent it in. 2 days later, I get a call. He goes, hey, he loves you for Dash. And I go, who loves me for what? I didn't even know what he was talking about. So I didn't even pay attention. Next thing I know, Shane calls me. We start having long conversations. He goes, hey, you should read the script. So then I read the script and I'm like, oh, this is freaking cool. So I didn't even know what I auditioned for when I auditioned. And I sent in two completely different tapes saying, oh, well, Dash sounds like a cool name and that seems like a cool character. But I didn't know what it was for.
Yeah. And obviously, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, it's just funny how things happen.
Yeah. And I suppose mentioning Shane Stanley, how would you describe his directing style on the film?
Well, Shane is, two things. Shane, from the minute that I, had my first conversation with him on the phone, he's extremely well-rounded and understanding of actors and all of it, because Shane has
Mm.
done every angle of the business. He was an actor. He produces, he writes, he directs. This isn't his first rodeo. You know what I mean? Like he's been,
Sure.
he's already produced a very successful film, Gridiron Gang, and many others. So he's already put out a big blockbuster film that was #1 in the box office. So I knew going in, did my research. He's very much, he makes you feel comfortable, and he's very much an actor's director because one, hence he was an actor for years of his life.
Mm.
He just knows how to talk to you and make you
Yeah.
feel comfortable, even when stuff is not is very complicated. He just knows how to talk to you, and he learned how to talk to all of us, especially me, because sometimes I need to be spoke to a certain way.
Mm.
Um, there's certain language that I need, and I'm like, oh, got it. So I don't know, me and him just hit it off very, very quickly, and we've been very close friends ever since. So I loved working with him. It was very easy for me to work with Shane.
Yeah. And in terms of other people you've worked with, I was doing some reading about this. I mean, Bruce Dern, Val Kilmer, Cloris Leachman are some examples. And was
Yeah.
there any pressure in working opposite people as renowned as that?
Well, at that particular time, that's a very good friend of mine. Now we've been friends for many years, but that director by the name of Mark David, he's
Mm.
actually he is the director and the producer of my movie Starfucker that's coming out in the new year.
Sure.
But he also directed me in Texas Heart. I was the lead of Texas Heart a few years back. He also directed me in Johnny Sweet Revenge. Actually, we went to the London Film Festival, and that's actually where we won. So
Mm.
that's the last time I was in London was for Johnny Sweet Revenge. The first project he ever put me in was American Cowslip with Val Kilmer and that
Sure.
whole legendary cast. So funny story about that is that I was introduced to Mark through my manager at the time, but my manager had a connection with Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
And Mark had reached out to my manager saying, hey, we would like to get a script of Val Kilmer. Your name is under his legal rep or publicity rep. For some reason, my manager was doing his publicity too. They were friends for years. So he said, I'll tell you what, I'll get the script to Val if you put my client in the movie. Because
Mm.
I was literally, he just started managing and I was his first client.
For sure.
So
Okay.
we worked it that way. And then the funniest thing is Mark, we always laugh about it now, but Mark David said, well, isn't he just like a male model? Can he even act? Because he saw my pictures and I hadn't done a whole lot by then. I mean, I've done some stuff, but nothing like where, could stand up next to Val Kilmer or any of these big actors.
Yeah.
So he said, all right, I'll meet with him. We'll see if the guy can even speak, kind of making jokes of it. So when we sat down and talked for lunch one day, he came with an actor by the name of Ronnie Blevins, who's doing really well. And Ronnie was the lead of American Cowslip, actually, kind of to like critique me to see if I could handle even doing one line in the movie.
Yeah.
Long story short, he's like, oh man, you actually you got a personality. You're not just a face. And I go, well, who said I was just a face? And he was like, oh, no, you're like a male model. And I go, okay. So it was very funny. So it went from having one line in the movie, from the first take that we did on set, it went from that to putting me in the movie for like 35 minutes.
Yeah.
And he gave me a whole story, like the whole like ending sequence, the climactic ending of like a 30-minute climactic ending, putting me basically in the scene with all of them. And I'm working opposite to Val Kilmer and Blake Clark and Lynn Shay, and very, very ridiculously funny, crazy movie.
Mm.
But that was crazy because I'm working with Iceman from Top Gun. This is wild. Like, he was one of my favorite actors. So
Yeah.
And it was surreal. But I from what I understand and how it turned out, and Mark said, listen, man, you carried your own, man. You carried your own. He goes, one day I'm going to put you as a lead in my movies, and I'm make do everything I can to make you a star. And he stuck by every single word. And he did.
Amazing.
And Val, that was really a moment in my life where I say that I never expected anything to get to this point. And this is back when I was 27, when Val came up to me when we wrapped our scenes together, and he came up to me and shook my hand and said, I did an amazing job. I was like, coming from Val Kilmer, I was like, wow.
Mm.
So I was like, okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe.
Yeah.
So that was surreal, man. So that was a pretty amazing point in my life that I was able to achieve, and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. And I suppose also going off on a different tangent in your career, you were part of NBA 2K20. I think that's the right year I've got there.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
Jonas Biel. So I suppose, how did you find the experience of working on a video game compared to stuff like film or TV as a medium?
Well, the video game is kind of another interesting story. So the director is actually a good friend of mine, but he had called me. His name's Sheldon Candice, a really talented director. He had a movie at Sundance Film Festival years back called Love, L-U-V, with Common, and it's actually a true story based on his actual life, and did really well. And he's done a bunch of things. But Sheldon's been one of my closest best friends for 18 years now.
Yeah.
So over the years, we've been trying to like work together. I had no idea. He called me about an audition and said, "Hey, listen, I got this video game I'm doing, but it was under NDA. He had to sign that they couldn't speak about what game it was. So they said it was something called Flight School. I had no idea it was about NBA 2K20. First of all, I came up playing that game. Second of all, basketball was my first love. So to be a character in the game is like, I would never expected that. So I didn't know until I got to set into midway through the first day that it was for NBA 2K20.
Right.
And then I found out that I'm working with Scottie Pippen, which my favorite player of all time is Michael Jordan, Chicago Bulls. I was the biggest Bulls fan. So I got to work with Scottie, which is very funny because his kid plays on my stepson's basketball team at their school. And I was always scared to talk to him. And he's always sitting there, and my family was like, "Go say something." I'm like, "No." But I ended up doing a game with him, talking to him the whole time. It's such a small world.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I'm Jonas Biel. It's my face, my voice. We had to do like the mocap stuff where you're wearing gear. Got to meet so many different people. I mean, Idris Elba's in the game, Rosario Dawson's in the game. So random. Like it's pretty. So that was pretty surreal. And then my kids playing the game with me in it.
Yeah.
So it's so weird a little bit, but I'm again, I'm very grateful that Sheldon was able to bring me in for that, and it worked out. So
yeah. So was your like personal real life background in basketball a coincidence, or did it have any factor in being involved with the game?
I think that, yeah, I mean, to a certain degree. I mean, Sheldon and I actually met playing basketball.
Right.
We always played basketball. We had a lot of mutual friends playing basketball. So I think when they hired me, the guys that they hired are people that have played basketball before.
Yeah,
I happen to fit the character of Jonas Biel, and I have a very strong basketball background. So, if anything, going into hiring me, we had to discuss our basketball background. So, I mean, I was a very big basketball person at one point. So, if anything, even more than Sheldon. So, it was interesting that I still had to audition, like, because, we're performing scenes, like the story throughout. So, it's like, it's dialogue like you're in a TV show, but in the story of the game. So, we had to audition like it was a TV show and then talk about our basketball experience. So, it definitely came into play, and it helped. It didn't hurt. And I just happened to know that lingo, and I know that world. So it was really cool.
Yeah. And if anyone who's reading or listening to this interview wanted to find out more about you or your work, where could they look for that?
Well, my Instagram, it is Erik Fellows Official, ERIK. Last name is Fellows, FELLOWS Official. And then Facebook, it's Erik Fellows, and Erik Fellows, or actor Erik Fellows. Anything with the blue check mark will be me. There's some fakes out there, imposters, so be careful. And then Twitter is Erik Fellows, and then I just joined Cameo. So
okay.
Yeah, so it's Erik Fellows 23. I just joined it. My person told me to hop on it, and it's actually been fun. People are actually reaching out and asking interesting questions, asking me to sing songs, actually. I'm like, I can't sing. They're like, we just want to hear you sing something. So I'm like, all right. So it's been kind of like interesting, but it's fun.
Yeah. And this is actually the last question I've got here, and it's just a simple one, but what are you most looking forward to in 2021?
Well, what am I hoping for?
Or that too, I guess.
Would be nice to have some sort of, the human understanding back to this world. We can all kind of compromise and figure this out together. kind of get back to where we were, and just kind of moving forward and caring about each other instead of all the hatred. I think that's a bit tough, especially I live in LA. You know what I mean? I know you being there too, it's tough because whenever you're near a major hub, you know, you hear a lot more of everything that's going on constantly than the outskirts. So, you know, as much as I do, it's very tough. People, you know, you got to be careful with what you're listening to in the news to a certain degree, and you got to trust your gut and trust your friends and your family. And it's dividing a lot of us. And I'm praying for 2021 to even start out the first day with a different feeling on our shoulders. I'm looking forward to you know, getting back to work. A couple of my projects coming out. Starfuckers, you know, Jimmy Star will be coming probably the second or third quarter. We don't have a release date yet, but it will be coming at some point next year. A couple of my comedies in my second season of Purgatory. I'm looking forward to those coming out. And I know I have a couple of projects lined up to start, but again, depending on what we're going to be dealing with, a lot of stuff's been delayed. So I just want to keep working. So I've been very grateful to be working, to be honest.
Yeah.
So and stay healthy.